This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we are talking with David Jolly. Welcome, David Jolly.
Lizzie, I am so excited about this. We've talked about it for months. It's great to be with you.
And it's an honor to have you here on my show.
Of course. Listen, I always tell people the first time I met you, you're one of those folks that you just kind of get your talons into someone and they never forget you.
All right.
And so I'm excited to be with you. I'm excited about the work you continue to put in and what you represent in terms of bringing to the forefront of the state the recollection of Rosewood, but also just the remembrance of history and the guiding principles of how we should treat history as well. It's wonderful to be with you.
Thank you. And people need to know that history is who we are.
That's exactly right. The good, the bad.
Exactly.
The bright chapters, the dark chapters. And look, particularly in a state and a country that is still so young, and
Yes.
those darker chapters were not too long ago.
Yes.
It is important that we have honest and frank conversations about it, that we teach our kids about it. You know, the first time, maybe not the first time I met you, but the first time maybe we had a real long conversation, you brought a book for our kids.
Yes.
Our kids are 6 and 4, and as a result of that, I've been able to introduce to my 6-year-old daughter the top line story of Rosewood, and to discuss and have themes with her that as a 6-year-old she may not be presented with in school, and certainly in a state that is not always maybe pushing hard to make sure history is taught and learned. I so respect what you're doing, and so it's great to be with you.
Does she understand?
She does. Listen,
to a degree, right?
Yeah, look, she's 6, right? And so,
And a genius.
So yeah, well, I say she's going to be governor before I am at this rate, because she's moving fast. Our 4-year-old's never going to leave the house, but our 6-year-old's she's going to be just fine. Having early conversations about race with your child is something that is as much a discovery of where they are as it is then providing lessons to her. And we truly today we still have a very almost self-segregated society where people of deep Christian faith, and as the saying goes, the most segregated days on Sunday, when we all go to either white churches or black churches. And so we're raising our kids in a Christian church environment that is not necessarily representative of the entire community. That's true on Sundays. So to kind of pull from her themes of how she sees race and color and how she doesn't see race and color maybe is the most important thing. But to introduce to her some of the history of hatred, the history of racism, and how it is still a challenge we face even today in our politics, where she knows her father's running for governor. The fact is, we have not achieved justice. Race and racism remains at the forefront. Just today, we've had to issue a statement condemning racial slurs of one of the candidates in the Florida governor's race, and we're in 2026, 100 years after Rosewood.
Exactly. And this is so important. And my concern, I want you to know, I also sent those 2 books to our governor,
good for
Ron DeSantis.
Good for you. Good.
Yes. And I followed up with a call to find out from his staff if he had
Yeah.
received them. Oh, yes, we gave them to him. Do I know I wasn't there? I wanted him to get my message. You are
Yeah.
not going to ban our history.
That's right.
History,
That's right.
we made this history. We lived this history.
Yeah.
We walked in it. And right now, I remember the 1940s. In the 1940s, I was born in 38. I remember the Jim Crow days, and I remember my parents and how they had to fight.
I bet.
I still have that fight.
I bet.
That's
I bet.
why I'm here sending you another
I bet.
message, Brother DeSantis. You will not ban our history. This is black
No, that's
history.
right. Listen, the history of Rosewood, but the history of race is hard, right?
is.
And listen, I am not here as a victim of the darker chapters, right?
Yeah.
The history of Rosewood is hard to have that conversation with a child. That out of
Yes.
pure hatred,
Yes.
people would be massacred.
Exactly.
And it would be tolerated by a government.
Exactly.
And the system of a government, the vestiges of which still lived for generations, as you mentioned, through Jim Crow and through other periods. And, we can translate it to some softer themes of American politics today. But look, I am a former Republican, right? Today I'm a proud
know.
Democrat. My journey is a journey of change, but even if you look at how candidates, and I would suggest the major parties today, approach inequality, somewhere in the last few decades, my former party, Republicans, kind of found safe harbor in saying, well, we believe in equality of opportunity, and then they give themselves a reprieve, as though that's the last chapter of the book and we've achieved it. I realized as I was serving in Congress, this notion of equality of opportunity, that's right, that should be what we aspire to. But suggesting equality of opportunity is actually a calling for policy changes, because a child born today 5 miles to the north of my children does not have the same opportunity, does not have the same access to health care, does not have the same access to upward mobility, home ownership, doesn't even have transportation opportunities that my own children have. And so to recognize that, yes, equality of opportunity in 2026 has not been attained means that in the craft that I practice of politics and policy, the work is still undone.
It is.
And gratefully, we are far past 100 years ago what we saw in Rosewood.
Yes.
But those voices of racism and racial intolerance still continue to rise in today's society in a very dark and ugly way, and it's a calling of all of us to condemn that and speak out about it.
Exactly, and that's why you're here today, because I
That's
want
right.
to hear. I think you told me, don't remember if you remembered, but you told me when we talked that you are the president of the Real Rosewood Foundation. You shouldn't be out knocking on doors, trying to raise money to build a museum.
That's right. That's right.
You told me there is money
Yeah, that's right.
in somewhere federal.
Federal and state money.
Money.
There could be state money tomorrow if our Republican legislature and governor wanted to see a Real Rosewood Museum. They could
Yes.
pay for that tomorrow. They're going into legislative session. Budgets are about values. Budgets are about priorities. And if we prioritize teaching history, remembering history, using the Real Rosewood Foundation as an opportunity to educate the next generation. Look, I'm a fifth generation Floridian. And geographically was never lived in the Big Bend area in Levy County. My roots are Pinellas and Miami-Dade and Pasco and Escambia County. But I know Rosewood is part of our history, and I want my children to understand that Rosewood's part of our history. And so, this notion we saw of the governor beginning to unleash banning of books,
I know.
is banning history, and it's wrong.
Exactly.
It's wrong. This is a governor who suggested we need to teach the brighter parts of slavery.
Yes.
That is just raw ignorance.
Yes,
That is
yes.
raw ignorance,
Yes.
Lizzie. And so not only do we have to fight back against that tide, but we should fund foundations, and we should fund museums, and we should fund platforms that allow the teaching of our history, all of our history.
And that's why you are my guest on my show today, because I want to know how you think. And right now, you've got it going on.
I appreciate that.
And we appreciate you, because banning books, and I am so against that. When I was growing up, there were no books in my house. We couldn't afford it. I grew up on a farm. Poor,
Wow.
not a lot of money, but love, and we had everything nurturing.
Yeah, you came from a loving home. A
Right.
loving home, that's right.
A loving home, but no books. My grandfather had a Bible, and all of us learned to read
Wow.
from that Bible.
Wow.
I still have that Bible today.
Wow.
So that's how we were taught. And banning books, oh my God, you will not know. We can't. We can't allow that. And I appreciate you saying that.
We can't.
it's
We
not
can't.
going
Listen,
to be-
I also want to point something out. I realize, listen, I'm a preacher's kid. I don't come from family wealth. I don't come from means. I'll be working for the rest of my life. But I've had a privileged opportunity to be a member of Congress, to be an attorney, to be on TV. I realize my opportunities and pathways are far greater than many others. And when you mention a childhood with no books, I have said to our children, I tell them every night, if there is ever a book you want, we will buy it. We will buy it. We have the privilege to, on a random Tuesday night at 8 p.m., if my daughter sees a book that she wants, we order it and it's there the next day because we want her to be exposed to it. And so that's privilege, right? That not all families have. But then let's go to the types of books because, I understand some of the concerns of families and parents about what books their kids are exposed to.
Exactly.
I get that. That's a natural reaction. And for me, as my children, there are certain books I don't want my children exposed to. But I think here's where the politics got so wrong. Teachers and administrators and academics know what books are appropriate for children. They're not trying to push inappropriate books on children. And already within Florida law, if a parent does not want their child to be exposed to a book, they get to exempt their child from that book.
Exactly.
So there is already a mechanism to defend parents' rights to determine what is best for children. But we shouldn't let parents who are untrained in curriculum and academic and intellectual development try to determine what books are appropriate at different stages of life when it's the teachers and the educators who are trained in understanding how to develop a young mind academically. Where there are social issues that perhaps families want to limit their exposure to, that's fine. But that does not mean we get to pervert the teaching of history, to pervert the teaching of love and life and faith. Look, my family comes from a fairly traditional white Christian church environment, right? I want my children exposed to the greatest diversity of thinking, of life, of love, of culture, of race, because it makes them stronger, more capable people, better able to determine their own life and their own direction. And sure, as they remain minors, my wife and I will make the decisions that are best for them, but we want to empower them that at the age of majority, they can make the decisions that are right for their life. And the only way we do that is we expose them to a world around them that's greater than the one in our own home.
Exactly.
And that is empowering to a family. And sometimes I look at these politicians in Tallahassee who say, we've got to ban books and we can't let our kids be exposed to all this. And I think, they're just insecure in their parenting. because as parents, my wife and I will help direct our children in the way we think they should go until the age at which they get to determine what's right for them.
Absolutely. And this is why.
But we're preaching this morning. We're having church a little bit. I'm sorry about that.
I love it. I didn't go to church yesterday.
Well, you yesterday celebrated the opening of a Rosewood Park, which is another commemoration that you're able to participate in.
I did, and I was happy. I was proud to be there. And the guy who is in charge of this idea of opening a park made certain, when he introduced me, he said, I want to introduce you to somebody that has been doing Rosewood forever. She knows more than I ever will learn about Rosewood.
That's wonderful.
And I was glad of that opportunity. I was glad of the recognition because I don't want him to think that he is Mr. Rosewood. I am Mrs. Rosewood, okay? But I don't own Rosewood. It's history.
That's right.
And everyone working together to make our country, and especially Florida, better.
The more people that understand Rosewood, the better and stronger we are as a state. And while you were there, I was at your daughter's church at Mount Carmel in Gainesville, I believe, right?
I followed you this week. You have been everywhere this weekend in Gainesville.
We did the MLK Commission dinner and Hall of Fame induction on Saturday evening. We did Mount Carmel. We were with the Hispanic Caucus, did a lunch and a dinner. We're with you, and we're headed to Stone Creek for a town hall. For those of you who remember Lawton Childs, I say, I'm doing what Lawton Childs did. I'm just driving, not walking. We've done about 160 events from the Alabama border down to Key West and everywhere in between.
And I do have a letter. Yes, I heard you. But when you mentioned Lawton Childs, I just want the people to know I have a letter that Lawton Childs wrote me before he passed.
Oh, wow.
Congratulating me about Rosewood.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay.
That's wonderful. It's a wonderful legacy.
Yes, and I also have a letter, a proclamation from Jeb Bush, Governor Bush.
Good.
Because I went through him to make sure I got that historical marker placed in Rosewood.
Good.
It was
Good,
difficult.
good.
I didn't
sure.
give up.
I'm sure.
After 3 calls, he said, "Oh, okay." His staff said, "I do not give up." I forced. It wasn't forced. I demanded. Not a good word.
Listen, you've got tenacity and spirit and drive. When I
Resilience.
came to your birthday party a month or 2 ago, the gentleman that came with me, Vito, I didn't tell him what he was walking into. He just thought he was coming to somebody's birthday party. He didn't realize you were on the dance floor having a good time and everybody was partying. I mean, listen, you bring an energy and tenacity that few people have.
Okay, well, I had a wonderful time, and I do appreciate Governor Jeb Bush. I will give him credit. I even invited him to be the speaker for my event.
Oh, good.
When we unveiled the historical marker, he was the speaker. I introduced him. So
That's
whatever.
fantastic.
I do what
Good
I
for
need
you.
to do.
Good for you.
And also, I just got to say this about his mother. I wrote to his mother and asked her for a letter of appreciation, and she did send me a proclamation. I have all of this information that's going in my book, so I reach out to anybody you
Wonderful.
Okay?
Good for you.
All right, that's about time for our first half. We are going to head to a quick break, and we'll be back right after a word from our sponsors.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History.
I am Florida and America's Black History.
And you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, brought to you weekly from the Steve Spurrier Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We are here with David Jolly. The Queen Lizzie Podcast is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, live from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And we are back. Just to mention the sponsors of this Queen Lizzie podcast, I am absolutely thrilled, excited, appreciative to know that people in the community care as much about history as I do. History, as I said before, is who we are. And I appreciate Coach Steve Spurrier, Meldon Law, Jeffrey Law, Meldon Law, who has been working with the Gators since 1970, and each week he does an Athlete of the Week. He does an Athlete of the Week to let us know his impact with the sports community here in Gainesville. And then there is Jerry Bennett from the Credit Union, Campus Credit Union, very involved. And Freddie Weeby, oh my God. Freddie is just, Freddie Marketing, he is just out of this world supporting people. We talk to each other 3 o'clock a.m. in the morning. Anytime we wake up and we have a message for each other, he makes sure I get it before I wake up, or vice versa. But I have some excellent sponsors, and I do appreciate them. And when I met Freddie is from Ghana in Africa. Freddie said to me, I watched the Rosewood Show movie when I was in 5th grade living in Ghana. He said, I never thought I would have met a real Rosewood descendant.
Wow.
And we have bonded. He named my show Queen Lizzie. Queen Lizzie, he named this show, and very supportive, as I said. And thank you to each of you. And I want my community to continue to patronize the brunch. The brunch is each weekend, on the weekend from 11 to 3 p.m. The best food in town. So please come out and enjoy yourself. Now back to Rosewood. When my aunt, and I tell this story because I have different listeners each week, so
Sure.
I tell this story. My aunt, my mom's sister, of course, was the Rosewood school teacher from Archer, married a young man from Levy County, Rosewood, became the teacher there in 1915, taught there for 7 years until the Rosewood Massacre happened that scattered everybody in 1923 by a group of KKK who had come to Gainesville from southeastern states to host their annual convention or conference. And this particular year in 1922, December 31, 1922, they hosted it downtown on the square in Gainesville. So they were in town when the word was telegraphed to them from Rosewood, Levy County, Sumner, that a black man had attacked a white woman. So they were in town, they got the telegraph, and of course they all came to something to be a part of. But as I said, my aunt was a teacher. She was gang raped. She survived. But she suffered the rest of her life. She ran for the next 25 years. I believe she committed suicide. I said all of that to say, Mama said, you got to. My mom was still single when this happened. And my mother said, and she only told my mom her story because raping back then was an embarrassment to the family.
Sure.
And they kind of like blame themselves for being raped.
Sure.
And she wouldn't tell her parents, but she told my mom everything. And my mom told me what my mom told her 4 children, everything. The other 3 were not interested. I wasn't interested either, but she assigned it to me. So here I am.
Yeah.
How many years later still telling the story? But I appreciate her telling me the story because I got to meet you.
Well, listen, we talk about the darker chapters of history, and even that puts a gloss on it, right? I mean, the chapter you're describing, the chapter of Rosewood, is vicious and cruel, and yet tolerated.
Yes.
And you as a contemporary are able to speak to that generationally in a way that generations today don't appreciate the cruelty of it, the viciousness of it, the reality of it. And I think what I was most taken by in some of the literature you provided and the additional research I've done into Rosewood since, I notionally knew of Rosewood and the story growing up in Florida, but between the books you provided and the additional research, I was really taken by the fact that those who fled were told to never talk about it.
Exactly.
That they feared for their own safety and the safety of their families if they even acknowledged what had happened, and that this went on for years and years and years. And so not only was there the vicious, cruel incident that ultimately wiped out an entire town, but then for a generation, the victims not allowed to speak of it.
Exactly.
And it becomes a calling now for us in this generation to say, no, we're going to give voice to this. We're going to give voice to this chapter of history because we need to acknowledge it and accept it and realize the failings of our past as we work towards a future with greater freedom and liberty and equity.
Absolutely, and that's why I am here. That's why I have you here, because my mom knew the importance of it. My mom had an 8th grade education, but she was a genius. And she assigned to me, her other kids said to her mom, it's too painful. My nieces and nephews today, I have 80 plus, and they tell me the same thing. Said, Auntie, we can't do it. It hurts too much.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
I
does.
said, it hurts me. But we enjoy watching you.
Yeah.
So they watch the shows and they make sure they give me an update. But no, they cannot. But anyway, my mom said, she said, you must keep it alive. Research, authenticate, document, tell the
Yeah.
truth. Okay? And she said, you need to, a song. So mom is going to write you a song because we tell our stories through song. She said to me, I know you can't sing, but I'm going to dictate this story. 13 verses. I'm going to share only 3, which she thought was most important with you.
Very good.
The Cedar Key train conductors were told to pick up in Rosewood. Standing by the tracks with the lantern, its young school teacher stood, waiting in desperation to carry out the sheriff's plans, rounding up the hidden survivors to board the midnight train. The sheriff and the store owner worked around the clock, informed the train conductors just when and where to stop, pick up the men, women, and children who were hiding out, and bring them to Archer, Florida, traveling the same old route. Bob Walker and John Wright took on a daring risk, put the survivors on the train, Lord, and sent them off with a kiss. Notified the Gainesville families to be on the lookout for their kin. Told them the train was a-coming and told them exactly when. She thought those verses were very important.
That is incredible. That is incredible. I mean, listen, because oral history is often the most authentic and the most pure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it communicates in a way that what we read in books fails to sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, what you need to record all 13 verses, did you say there
Yes.
were? And that needs to be used as a teaching tool for young people. That's
Okay.
incredible. That's incredible.
And they will
Lizzie.
listen to songs.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
song- it's awesome.
But it also takes you back to the era, Lizzie. I mean, I think one of the challenges of history to really immerse yourself in it is to appreciate and contextualize when this happened. This is
Exactly.
not just words on a page, right? This was an era
Mm-hmm.
in which not just discrimination, but violence was still acceptable.
Exactly.
And we know the power of the African American community across the country and here in Florida, the resiliency and the mettle, the personal mettle to rise up, and whether it is in rooted in faith or just resiliency, or no other options, right?
Right.
To be a people with such strength and resiliency, and then to have someone put the lyrics to song.
Yes.
And to honor the traditions, as I see very much so in the African American traditions, to put this to song, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
sang it yesterday down in Rosewood and got standing ovation. I sang
I
all
love
13 verses.
I love it. I love it. I love
was
it.
terrible.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You still got it. As they say, you still got it.
But when I sing first before I talk, it
Yeah.
sounds better. See,
Oh,
I'm
it's
tired.
beautiful, beautiful. Listen, I mentioned growing up in church. My wife and I still practice church, and white church and black church, it's very different. It's very
I know
different. so a lot of times I'll end up in a black church, particularly in politics, right? I mean, I mentioned I'm going in every community. This is about lifting everyone's voices, not just mine.
Exactly.
Building a coalition across the state where we stand shoulder to shoulder. We all bring different lived experiences, right? Where I think this governor currently falls short is he thinks he's the smartest person in the state.
Exactly.
I know I'm not. I want people with other lived experience to help
help.
inform how we move forward. So I spend a fair amount of time in black churches, and some of you who you follow me on MSNBC know my former colleague Joy Reid. Joy Reid's a very special person in my life.
I
So
want you to put her in touch with me.
I'll do that. So listen,
So we can do a Zoom.
Yeah, we should do something like
Okay,
that. That'd be great.
go on.
So Joy and
Love
we had this day where we were covering the current president. I hate to say his name, President Trump. He was at some rally, and he was doing that thing on stage where he kind of dances and sways back and forth. And we came back from the video clip, and she said to me, "What was that he was doing?" And I said, "Oh, Joy, you don't understand. That's what we call white church dancing." That's about all we got is to do that. See,
Okay.
you can put history to a song, you can sing it, and I promise you the folks at Rosewood yesterday gave you that standing ovation
Yes, they
because
did.
of the beauty of what you were able to do.
It was terrible. I was so tired, but yeah, they heard it. They read it. They
That's
heard
right.
me,
That's
and they
right.
said, but it was the lyrics. Okay,
Of
more
course,
than-
of course, it teaches.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
teaching
exactly,
tool.
That's exactly what
It's
they
a
said.
teaching tool. I mean, listen, I mean, those verses that you just sang are part of this Rosewood story as well.
Mm-hmm.
That families after the massacre, that some people hid in the swamps.
Yes, they
and
did.
hid until they could be rescued. And those
Yes.
verses that you just sang were about the rescue
Yes.
of being pulled out of Rosewood
Yes.
and saved. And then
Yes.
you fast forward to the decades of not being able to ever speak of Rosewood again out of fear of
Exactly.
retribution.
Exactly.
As we've said often on this podcast, a dark chapter, but one that we simply must give tribute to and recognize as part of our Florida history.
Exactly, and they hid in the swamps. And you know what my aunt did? She was smart enough to know that she could not put all of her students on that train, and the
Wow.
sheriff had to beg the people from Levy County, Cedar Key, to help him. They were afraid for their family.
Right,
Okay,
right.
They are my
Wow.
unhidden, unsung heroes.
Yeah,
They
right.
came to the rescue.
That's right.
So my book is something else. I'm writing a book. I have written books, but I'm writing a real book with everything I'm talking
It's
about.
wonderful.
It's
That's
everything.
wonderful.
Yeah, so it's going to be really, really different. And I'd love to be on a podcast with Joy. And
That's
you
right.
too.
That's right.
The
We'll have
three
to
of us.
we'll have to figure out how to do something.
That's right. Soon.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, look, this governor's race is giving us a platform to talk about the most pressing needs in Florida. And I believe this governor's race is going to be very competitive and capture national attention, and folks like Joy and others are going to have to cover it. We have a state
Exactly.
that is in the midst of an economic crisis.
Right.
Half of this state has the economy crumbling around them without access to health care, to housing.
Right.
Frankly, we've abandoned public education
Oh my
and created a
God.
choice program that's leaving Florida's families behind. We have families that don't have access to transportation. We have utility rates continuing to go up. We have a crisis in this state, and at the same time, we are the home of culture wars. 8 years ago, this state launched culture wars, and culture wars have victims. And so, the three things I talk about in this race that'll capture the attention of Joy and others are that the economy should work for everyone. Government can actually improve your life through access to health care and education and upward mobility. And then we must be a state where everyone is welcomed and empowered, regardless of the color of your skin, where you were born, who you love, or who you worship. Those are values bigger than just our state. As a Democrat, they are rooted in democratic values, but they are bigger than our party. Those are the values that I believe provide a way ahead for where we should go, not just in this governor's race, but as a country, to renew who we are as a people.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. I am in agreement with that. And speaking of writing a song, in 2010, I wrote a song, and it's called Listen Up, Floridian. And it's about gerrymandering. I love it.
very
I'm
good.
afraid to put it out there, but it's
Good.
on Facebook.
Good.
You
We'll have
look
to
it up.
find it. We'll have to find it.
up and you know what they have done since I wrote the story, the song? They, like I don't know who, but politicians have gone through it. They didn't change the words, the lyrics.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how they have dictated, they drew pictures to explain what I was saying. It is so funny.
Well, good for you for fighting
Listen to
gerrymandering.
it. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that.
I am honored to have had you as my what episode is this? 143,
Wow.
143rd.
Wow. Good for you.
You're number 143. And if you
Good
need
for
to come
you.
back before election,
We'll have to do that. We'll have to do that. It's been wonderful being with you.
Yes, because this is not complete. And please tell Joy what I said.
I'll do it.
Hey, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, it's about time for us to go. And guess what? I'm going to give you the closing, an opportunity for closing remarks, and then you may read this.
I would just say, Lizzie, to you, thank you for what you do to carry on the legacy of history in the state of Florida, specifically as it relates to Rosewood. Rosewood is one of those darker chapters that we must remember, we must teach, and we must learn from. And I think that's the opportunity you provide people today, is as their eyes get open to the very real history, we have the opportunity to learn and to change as a people and to change as a state, and then commit to the policies necessary to ensure that kids learn about Rosewood, learn about history, but that we also learn about the opportunities for change. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. And now I'm to read this, is that right?
Of course.
Is this your closing statement?
Honor. Yes, that's
okay.
my closing statement, but I want you to read it.
Let's do it. I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, in healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. I'm David Jolly, your Queen Lizzie, and until next time, bye-bye.